And we are here. So, welcome everyone. I am Pam with Perfectly Holistic, and I am so excited to be with you guys tonight. We have a great show lined up for you. Having a little trouble with the radio show producer. So, I don't know if they got mixed up on their ends, but we're going to go ahead and roll with things. So, first of all, if this is your first time joining us tonight, thank you so much for being here. We love educating and empowering cat parents about using more holistic approaches with their cat. And, everybody at some point in their life needs a feline behaviorist, especially if you have more than one cat. So I am so excited to be joined tonight by my friend Daniel Quagliozzi, DQ, a feline behaviorist from San Francisco. So, Daniel, thank you and welcome back to the show.
Yeah, pleasure to be here. Thanks, Pam.
Yeah.
You're right. If you have one cat, you may not need a behaviorist, but if you have many, you probably will.
You probably will.
Yeah.
I think it's managing those personalities, right?
Yeah. Honestly, I mean, that's the biggest piece. I always tell people, I'm like, you just because you have, if you have more than, let's say two, or if you have two or three or four, a lot of people tend to tip that scale,
Yep,
but you've got to tribute every one of those personalities. And,
absolutely.
every one of those cats has a preference. I mean, you'll be lucky if some of them align and like the same things. But most of the time, you have to carve out time and attention for every single personality in that house.
It is so true, and the more you have, the more complicated that gets because you only have so many hours in the day, right?
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, they
That's
all need attention.
that's the dilemma. And my biggest hurdle, honestly, when giving people advice is like I'm talking to them and I'm intuitively picking up what I know they're not going to do. But based on their body language, the way they answer, the way they might
Mhm.
pay interest to the solution or no interest, like glass,
Right.
just sort of swipe left on what I'm talking about. Um, but because it does requires time, requires routine, and we'll talk about this. When we talk about the five things that most multi-cat households don't do or their biggest problems, um, just like play. The
Yeah.
simplicity of play with a cat is something a lot of us let days go by before we think about it. It's not
Mhm.
like scheduling it or factoring it in or preemptively uh,
Yeah.
scheduling these outlets for your cat's play. Because, like when I talk to people, of course, they're getting ambushed. Cats are biting their ankles or they're fighting with each other, and I will ask about where's the catharsis in their day, like where
Mhm.
do they dump their feelings, where do they put their energy, their attention, and their ownership
Mhm.
bases. So like, and that's another big piece with multiple cats. Like, how are you tributing that ownership, right?
Exactly, exactly. Um, so it's been it's been a hot minute since we talked last time. We had
Yeah.
a great show last time, but we wanted to focus this time on like the most common, like the top five mistakes that are made in multi-cat households, because like you said, if you have just one cat, things can normally be, handled, and it's rare that you have issues, but when you start bringing in multiple personalities, it can be a little challenging sometimes. And I think we don't want to have to rehome our pets, right? Because we love them. We view them as family, but so many times, as you know, in your line of work, that kind of ends up being like the last option, right? Because they just can't figure out how to make everybody get along. And so who's going to be the odd man out and have to leave? And that's just heart-wrenching.
Yeah. I'm not
It's
trying to make people do Sophie's choice
no,
and pick out which cat's got to go. Like, uh,
no.
but there's something to be said about the tendency of some of us who are savers
Yeah.
or in
Yeah.
this world to just keep thinking there's still room, or you've got to like rescue another cat, and that tips the scales, and the fluidity of the relationships in your house will then change. And
Mhm.
I can't tell you, maybe once a week, twice a week, maybe more with my clients, these issues that come up when they added a cat that either they didn't intend to save or
Mhm.
purposefully went to add, couldn't resist, whatever.
Yep.
And cats that had personalities that were one way are now different.
Yeah.
Or you have um, bullies that come out of nowhere, cats that weren't bullies before, and a lot can be placed on the fact that this new cat coming in is going to come in with their own set of status among these other cats.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't think people realize that there is a shift when you add or subtract even. There's a shift, and
Yeah,
every cat, like you said, their personality can change because they're emotional creatures, right? They are such little energy magnets.
yeah, yeah. I mean, they're sponging. Okay, so here's one way I describe cats, and I'm not sure where I read this, but I like it a lot. They are exploitive captives. We
Yep.
we keep them captive in our environments based on our decisions, based on our decisions for how their environment's going to reap rewards to them or not,
Mhm.
or our preferences for where we like our litter boxes to be, how we like our litter boxes to look, the
Yes.
litters we choose, like all those consumer choices. And then so you're going to have cats that rebel and reject against those choices,
Mhm.
and because they all have emotions and they're sponging off of their environments. They're
Mhm.
sponging off of us. We
100%.
are like the umbilical cord to them if
Mhm.
our energy isn't right.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, it's so easy to have a good thing and then not. And as I'm saying this, I can hear my cat is wanting to get back in the room. So just give me 1 second.
Yeah, yeah, go get a rescue.
Speaking of, come on.
Yeah. If you guys are watching tonight, let us know where you're watching from. Say hi because we love to acknowledge you. Des, oh my goodness, hello there.
Everybody look busy.
Yeah.
Boss is here. Yeah, but I mean, speaking of status, this is I'm now, I'm bending to the status of him.
Uh-huh.
But this cat, in the company of other cats, would not be cool. He would not be a
Mhm.
good cat. He would not be nice. He would be very angry and frustrated and competitive. And
Yeah.
competition
Mhm.
is why the first thing that people do wrong when they
Yes.
have multiple cat houses is they don't have multiple choices.
Mm.
And you can read up on choice and how many of this I should have and how many of that. And you're going to read boilerplate things like I have 3 cats, I should have 4 litter boxes, right? One box per cat and an extra. That's everyone.
Right. Yep.
My feeling is you should have as many litter boxes as you can live with. And if that's going to be 3, then okay. But then you have to realize that like they're going to get creative, right? We're asking a lot of our cats to return to a
Yep.
spot and eliminate over and over in the same spot while we refresh it. It's just not what they would normally do in an outside world situation. So
Mhm.
if you don't have multiple choices, you're asking them to compromise and you're asking them to, much to their chagrin, adapt to whatever you're providing them. So with litter boxes, I've got right now a client who, like, in their living room alone has 4 litter boxes and another 2 in their bathroom. And all 4 litter boxes in the living room at this point aren't being used by one cat they want to use them, right? Like, you can have a lot, but are you offering substrates that are the ones your cat wants? And that's where we talk
Mhm.
preference and like trying to tap into what every cat wants. Sometimes you're going to have a cafeteria of litter box depth, right? Some are deep, some are not. Some are shallow. Some have a regular litter. Some may have pine litter. You may have different styles of boxes. So it's not a one size fits all. But if you don't have the choices, then you're asking them to compromise, and cats aren't really good at compromise.
That's so true.
You know?
I'm a big fan of self-selection, and
Yeah,
that is part of that whole concept of let the cat choose because they know what they like, they know what they want. So give them some options
yeah,
and ways to support them, and they'll seek out what they need when they need it. It's really cool.
yeah. And like, so if we look at litter boxes are for me in the behavior world. Um, I just call it places where your cat plants their flag. So if you have
Mhm.
A shortage of boxes or boxes that don't match preferences, then your cats plant flags in other places, right? Places that have social relevance and significance to them. That could be the family couch where everybody hangs out and watches TV on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Your bed could be your bed while you're in it. So I've heard 1,000 different ways for this to go, and the first thing I ask, whether it's spraying on a wall or peeing in a corner,
Mm.
where are your cats planting their flags, right? Because if they're forced to plant them in other places, however inconvenient for us, it's still their communication in a captive situation that they're
Yep.
exploiting for their own benefit. So
Mhm.
litter boxes, big time. Number two, food and water stations. So another thing I think we read and see all the time is bringing our cats together for meals to erase all fear and anger. Hey, just bring them together every day, have them eat, and little by little, you're going to create friendship. It's not true. It really, I mean, there's some degree of truth to impression changing,
Mhm.
positive reinforcement, of course, like bringing them together for these manufactured moments.
Mhm.
They know they're manufactured. They know they're being pushed. They know that's not their choice to be there except for that food.
Mhm.
So if the food is not powerful enough to erase fear of a cat who's staring right at them while they're eating,
Yeah.
right? So if you think about cats that are now cohabitating, you've got 5 cats and you're bringing them all together to eat every day, there are going to be some that are faster and better, that are pushing or just pushing other
Mm.
cats to the left. Some cats are going to withhold on eating full meals. It's going to force people to free feed, to be lazy about feeding their cats portions or
Right.
being specific to each cat's needs for nutrition. And what I see a lot also is people put their bowls against the wall. So their
Mm.
cats are facing the wall eating. Now, if you pull those bowls away from the wall, maybe a foot or two, you give your cat this circular, they can look around and they can see vantage points for
Mhm.
everything. So vantage points in litter boxes are important, vantage points when eating, where the water stations are. So you can't just have one place where all your cats converge to eat several times a day. You should have places all over that cater to each cat's preference. So there might be some that are better off eating up high
Mhm.
from other,
Mhm.
or the family dog who steals food or whatever, babies,
Right.
everything.
Right.
Um,
Right.
some
One of
cats,
our users says, "I have one on the table, one on the floor, and one on a chair."
right? So, I mean, and that's just, I think, naturally a way to stagger
Uh-huh.
their interests because every time they eat, the fuse is going, right? So when they're done, the cat who's done and is like, oh, let me mess with Noodles over here. I'm done
Mhm.
now. So Noodles might need to eat in the bathroom with the door closed so
Yeah.
they can finish their meal.
Mm.
Or
In
you may
peace.
need to offer food strategies that lengthen the amount of time they eat. Food puzzles, licky mats.
Yes. Yes.
So you've got, we're talking multiple choices, and that's all the important stuff, right? The litter boxes, the food stations, the water stations, s- absence of scratching material in the most important places. You've got
Mhm.
many cats, they're all fighting for a piece of the pie.
Yep.
Every one of them needs to mark in the most important places. And you've got a 1 foot high kitten scratching post that's off in the corner or somewhere that doesn't matter. And they scratch your furniture. So, of course, most of us who live and are entrenched in cat lifestyles surrender our property, right? Most of us do.
100%. 100%.
Surrender. Okay, fuck it. The couch is going to get scratched. We're just going to let
Right.
it happen, or we're going to finagle the couch so that it is less damaged, or whatever. There's ways to divert, redirect, but ultimately, you can't stop a cat from wanting to scratch a place that's valuable unless
Mhm.
you make it really, really unpleasant. But then you've got other cats that want to do it too. So multiple choices in scratching, preferences for scratching. Do they want to scratch high? Do they want to scratch low? Do they want,
Yeah.
carpet?
Mhm.
Your house is wall to wall carpet. Okay, I'm sorry.
It's true.
That's a preference that, you can't stop here and then not want it to happen there. Like, it's
Mhm.
not interchangeable that way. So those types of resources I think are important. Just in the everyday way your cats navigate around their spaces and show ownership of spaces. Um, we're we're stingy that way.
Mhm.
A lot of folks don't want to look or appear like cat people, and most of them are set in a certain. They have written a charter of rules
Mhm.
they expect their cats to follow.
And read.
Yeah, and
Here's the rules.
yeah, throw those rules away because
I
cats.
know. I know, it's true. Simone says, "Does it count the same for litter boxes off the walls?" Just
Oh, like pulling them away from the walls.
um, I guess that's what she means, pulling
I
them away from the walls?
If you've got open tray style litter boxes, then yes, I would say so. I mean, like, most cats when they enter a litter box,
They turn
they
around.
are they're peeing or defecating on the short end, not the long end,
Mhm.
right? So if you can station that in a way where they can at least see like maybe
Mhm.
about 4 or 5 seconds to like drop and go and run
Mm.
if they need to. Um,
Mhm.
so I know there are cats that want privacy, but there are also cats that want to do it right out in the middle. And sometimes having boxes with that breathing room helps. But if you're using covered boxes,
Yeah,
no matter how you station it, is one window out.
one window. Mhm. And I think some cats that's where you have to be real intuitive to watch, does my cat prefer covered or uncovered?
Yeah.
And you might have to do both just to make peace with all the personalities, right?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, everyone might like something different. And when I talk to people, like, sure, they're making choices that I don't agree with, right? Like, they're buying litter robots and they're buying
Yeah,
uh, top entry litter boxes, and in design I don't agree with them. I don't feel that they're intuitive for cats to use.
right.
I feel like they do make cats vulnerable when jumping in and out, and they are also compromised in how much space there is to eliminate. Most
Yeah.
cats in a top loading box are going to put their head out the hole, which means they're slanted that way and they're pooping or peeing in the back way, not going to drop down into where they eliminate. So
Mm.
that may not be right for some really insecure or fearful cats, but it might be great for some Bengal who doesn't care and jumps in and out of stuff. And, so that cat
Yep.
might be fine with that. And I wouldn't say change all your boxes. There's also,
Mhm.
litter choices I don't always agree with. And I've
Mhm.
talked about this in my videos a lot. Um, Litters designed for low tracking that end up being pellets. So pellet litter, for a new underage kitten or something, great. They're not going to ingest the litter when they clean their paws. But for an older cat with little sensitive toe beans standing
Mm.
on rocks, not a fun time. And also, when they urinate on it, now you've got half rocks, half dust. It's this weird mix.
Mhm.
So, two this week alone, I have two separate clients with that style litter, both cats peeing on hardwood floors.
Oh, wow.
Desperate. Why pee on a hardwood floor? That is not logic. That is
No,
desperation.
right?
So, of course, like, I'm trying to just ease them into the idea of trying a new
Litter.
substrate, something that's a little softer and easier on the feet. But in their
Yep.
head, like, but what about the tracking? But what about the dust? But what about, like, what about surrendering, compromise?
What about a broom and a dustpan?
If you like clean and pee,
I mean, it's part I think it's part of the package. There's no perfect litter,
yeah, no,
and you're gonna have to clean regardless to some degree, even the non-trackable ones,
yeah,
everything tracks to some degree. It's not gonna be perfect. I'll tell you a story. I have one of my cats who is 8, and she's very spoiled. She decided up and one day that she didn't like the pellet litter anymore. She'll pee in it, but she started pooping in other places. until I figured out that she wanted something softer on her feet, and I got her the sawdust style,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
the sandy style, and now she's happy. But I had to go figure out that, okay, she really just doesn't like it on her feet. And I think we just have to be open,
Yeah.
You have to be open and figure out, give them some options, like you said, because I tried a couple different things and found something she liked, and now she's happy and it doesn't happen anymore. But it's just, you just have to be open-minded to the fact that, and
Yeah.
this is, you probably hear this a lot, but I've been using that for years. I've been
Oh,
using that
yeah.
for
Sure, yeah. She's been
ever since.
using it. Why now? Yeah. Or,
Because she got fed up and said, "The hell with this. I don't want to do this anymore."
yeah. Or I recommend several different types of litter, and they'll shoot down those types because they tried them once before, right? So
Mhm.
I just I just don't believe you. I just don't believe that you tried it for a length
Yeah.
of time. So what I always propose to my clients are these like litter box trial sessions where
Yeah.
you offer a cafeteria of different types to see which
Mhm.
they're going to narrow it down to.
Yep.
That alone is hard for
Mm.
people to do because they don't have the discipline to, 7 to 14 days see what happens. That's a whole other discussion is how I get my compliance out of my clients, or how I get them to collaborate with me.
Mhm.
Better word, but it's really hard to convince people of the amount of time it takes for a cat to readapt to something that yes, they've been using the litter for 5 years, but did they like it?
Right.
Like, it's another thing that they just were like, this is what we got. I
This is
got
what it gets. Oh, well.
So, like, so we ask a lot. We ask
Mhm.
a lot of them with these things that we purchase, and yeah, it's just it's an interesting field to be in. It's this really nice cross section of human psychology and animal welfare. Uh,
Yeah.
I feel like cats are so. I mean, I want to say they're mysterious. They're not mysterious to me, but they're mysterious to most people, because it
Mhm.
taps into their own sense of control and their own um, needs for what their expectations of a
Yeah.
cat might be.
Yeah.
You know,
100%. And
yeah.
I think also, do you find that people just kinda have a set, like a mindset, like, "This is my plan, and therefore that's what we're gonna do," and there's just, like, not a whole lot of flexibility there, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean,
I just
every client I meet with is this new puzzle.
Yeah.
Are a puzzle, and the people are a puzzle, and I'm trying to solve both.
Yeah.
But the puzzle for me is how do I get them to understand the problem enough to let their guard down to fix
Mhm.
the guard, that's their own things that are they're guarding for themselves. And
Yeah.
um, so like some lady, my client from like last week, um, she they're all just a blur, after a while, but
Yep.
especially through Zoom because I don't have much tangible experience to go with them. But what she was telling me, she hired me because her cat ambushes her, attacks her while she's sleeping. Attacks means I'm sleeping and my cat wants to play with me.
Mhm. Mhm.
He also wants to do it to the cat and all that stuff. So go through all this stuff, and as I'm uncovering information, I'm trying to figure out like who was this cat before you got him, what
Mhm.
experiences they had before you, because some people get cats that are taken from situations where they were handled poorly.
Correct.
She comes and says, in the beginning, I just wrestled with him with my hands a lot. So, like, when did you do this? Well, when he was, 4 months to a year old, like in that crucial period.
Training. Yeah.
So, okay, yeah, all right. So let's talk about how we undo,
Yeah.
you know,
Everything
uh,
you taught him to do.
yeah. I mean, just they come in all different forms. Human beings,
Mhm.
our hearts
Mhm.
are so uh, so fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah.
The way we make our choices for these animals. But, also people that I meet that are in really bad matches. They've made the wrong decision,
Mhm.
wrong cat. And, it's horrible to tell somebody that, okay, these are the steps it would take for you to fix the problem. It's going to be a long haul, and I can't promise that it would change it. Or you take this perfectly adoptable 5-month-old orange tabby kitten that your pride won't allow you to release, and you bring him back to the shelter where he'll spend 2 days in the shelter tops and be adopted again. Like, some situations I can tell these are actually adoptable cats in the hands of the wrong person.
Mm.
Or there are some cats where I'm like, listen, I know this sucks. I know this cat is driving you crazy, whatever the problem is. But in my experience, and no shelter wants this situation. No shelter can make this situation better. You're the best case scenario.
Mhm.
So here's what we have to do. Like, shit or get off the pot. This is the
Yep.
problem, and it's you. You're the one, the only one. You got here. It's you and this cat together now, and you're the advocate. You're the best case. This is what we're gonna have to do. Manage a life in your house. Potentially, like the cat to cat stuff is difficult because you're living with screen doors or baby gates and all that stuff. Peeing, people won't live with for very long. That
No, that's so true. That's so true.
so that's the big one. Resources, multiple choice resources. The other stuff comes in the form of we talked about meals, right? Portioning meals, giving them frequent meals. So most people with multiple cats don't have the time to do a feeding session every 4 hours for all 5 cats.
Right.
So they're leaving food out, and then that causes issues.
Yeah.
So I like to do
Come here.
I like to feed cats when they are hungry and not wait until they get hangry, wait till they get
Right.
to the point of frustration. So I correct my clients who feed their cats AM, PM, and nothing else twice a day, 12 hours between meals. What are you expecting their cat to do? You know, they're gonna fight each other's heads off because they're hungry. And when the meals come, they're gonna eat fast and throw up. Like,
Mhm.
but if you fed them every 4 hours, a little bit, that takes more work. I know a lot of us aren't working from home, but those of us
Yeah.
that are, that's the way to do it. Uh,
Mhm.
Food puzzling slows down how fast they eat. It also takes cats who are bullies and cats who are afraid of the world around them and gives them something dedicated to do,
Right.
takes their mind off it. So Noodles, the cat who gets, the food stolen, is in the bathroom, close the door, food puzzle, enrichment time.
Mhm. Yep.
So
And even if people have to use like one of those timed feeders, when they're not home,
okay with
you
that?
can drop some snacks or freeze dried or something that they can
Yeah.
give them if they're going to be gone that long. Like I know these guys, they get like midday treats and snacks, and then then they get their dinner and then they get a little snack before we go to bed and
Yep.
you
I
know.
love I don't think people should rely on auto feeders, but I do
Right.
think in the time they're away, it fills in with a little splash of food here and there. Again,
Mhm.
if you've got multiple cats, don't put the auto feeders next to each other or in the same room, because the phenomenon I see is a classical conditioning of click, splash, and then all the cats run.
Run. Like food.
Right?
Who can get there first, right?
That creates tension. Yeah. Uh, so we also alluded earlier to play sessions.
Yes.
Every cat has the need. Some of them lose interest. Doesn't mean that they don't want to.
Mhm.
So what I see people doing is just playing with the ones who present the opportunity to you. You're not presenting it to them. You're not doing it, singling them out to do it. And playing cats in a group, it just upsets them. they're not collaborative. They're not going to tug on a toy together like two dogs would. They're one's
Right.
gonna take it and then run with it. The others might get a swipe in, but it does again creates competition immediately. So
Yep.
the cats that have the higher needs for play, the cats that are misfiring their play drives at us, at other animals, they need private,
One
dedicated
on one.
time to empty that cup.
Hmm.
And the other ones need, if they're not getting playtime or they don't want playtime, they want you time.
Yeah, they want you time.
Time.
Hmm.
Gotta spend solo time with them. So when I talk to people, I'm like, how much time do you spend alone with this cat? Do you carve out
Hmm.
every day something that they can set their expectations to? Because a cat is setting their expectations to what they can expect. That is why they will self gravitate to a place that they know every day at 3 o'clock reaps rewards.
Yes.
That's why my cat is right here, right now. Because when I share, I've been going to school for 6 months, and one of the things we've learned in school was clicker training.
Hmm.
So I've been clicker training him in the space behind me.
Oh, sweet.
So when I'm here, he's like, "Is it now?"
He's like,
No, you're
but, but, you're there.
absolutely. So you know, but that you, if in theory, your cat can set
Mhm.
expectations to something you do for them every day in a different spot that is alone, as long as you're consistent and you don't let days go by. But it's
Right.
work. Is
It
work.
is work. It is work. I have two kittens that are 8 months old now, and every night we have to have a play session. I try to do more than once a day, but it's hard sometimes. But every night for sure, we have play sessions. But because I have an older cat, she's not old, she's 8, who used to be a play monster, right? And then the two younger ones, one is like the play monster, and the other one is right below. But I have to have two different wand toys going at the same time. One for the one who's 8 because she gets very scared of the two younger ones who are just bouncing literally off the walls and everything.
Yeah,
So I'm like this juggling two, two different toys at the same time because different personalities and they don't, you know, I want them to all have some
yeah,
fun together in a happy, positive environment as they continue to build their relationships and all. But it can be challenging when you have the different energy levels that you're trying to meet, right?
yeah,
Older cats versus very young cats and how much more the younger ones really need that outlet for play and the old ones not so much, but they want the one-on-one time.
yeah. Totally. Yeah, I mean, that's what we have to we do what we have to do. Sometimes we have to be
Creative.
circus circus performers. A good argument for AI would be some sort of cat uh, wand toy playing robot.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. Cats and robots don't mix.
Yes, and then Mary says, "Can you clicker train multiple cats?"
Yeah, if you got the time and the dedicated alone
Mhm.
time. And in fact, when I talk to my clients, that I'm not teaching them how to high five.
Right.
I'm teaching them how to use clicker training to gain the attention and the one-on-one collaborative training that you're
Yes.
giving this cat. Because if you have a cat who is insatiable, wants to play, and he's tackling other cats, but he's food driven, that means you can have this connection with him and command, uh, um, somewhat. It gives you some form of connection, but also in community, in eye shot of another cat.
Yep.
So what I try to do is cats that are being introduced. They've got the gates up. I've already instructed them not to bring these cats together to eat, but to give them clearance. They can eat, but from distance they can see each other.
Right.
Then we take the cat who blows it every time, the one who finishes eating, then goes to the gate. That is then clicker. So he's now engaged, and it's a different ritual now. The ritual is we do this thing that bears fruit for you, and you get my time. which is another thing they're competing for, is you and how you interact with them among other cats. And yeah, there's Noodles on the other side of the gate. Like, each cat can benefit from that.
Mhm.
Can benefit from that just to get basic attention-based skills with you. But stationing is another thing we can do with cats. Stationing is a fancy word for saying, like, go to your mat or go to your top of your cat tree.
Nice.
Another practical use would be cats that are eating or having tension, you start clickering and stationing a cat to a very high place so they gravitate to there naturally. They
Mhm.
gravitate there when you're eating so that you're not having a counter surfing cat who steals your food. You have been
Yeah.
trained to go to the top of the cat tree in the room or the other, or go to we clicker train them to a cat carrier because
Yeah.
earthquakes and fires and vet visits
Yes.
go in naturally. That's great, right? So
Mhm.
there's practical uses for it that are, I think, more um, building of connection, but also distraction. And training dogs this way is a different thing. It's a different relationship. With cats, um, it's a slower process. It's a less um, they're not as concentrated on it.
Mhm.
So, like, just Saturday, I taught a clicker class at San Francisco Animal Care Control. So I teach there on Saturdays. I mentor volunteers, and we visit the harder cats, meaning cats you have no idea what's going to happen when you open the cage. Like, it could be friendly, not friendly instantaneously, or friendly and then not friendly. Right? You just don't
Mhm.
know. So it takes a set of skills that um, we work on, being aware, being aware of our own body language.
Yeah.
These cats that are fearful in a county shelter better not be fearful, because that means they're not going to move forward.
Right.
A county shelter does not have time to play with. All
Mhm.
your cages are full, and your foster homes are full, and your adoptions are low, and these cats aren't moving. You have really hard decisions to make. So
Yeah.
for my team, we work on clicker training for those shy cats to move them out, to get them out of those frozen spaces.
Mhm.
We have these other cats that are so frustrated of being in a cage. The first thing they do when they open it is try to bite you, not out of anger, but out of play drive. So we get them into a condo with more space,
Mhm.
or clickering them to sit, clickering them to do things that require them to stop, pump your brakes a little bit, buddy. We're
Yeah.
gonna do this. So we look for the food drive. We experiment for it first, because not every food a cat wants, and a fearful cat isn't going to eat.
Right. Right.
So frozen and dilated, and in their litter box, peeking up over the edge, you
Mhm.
click all you want. They're probably not going to. So what we work on is that building the trust,
Mm.
finding that golden food that they like. And it takes our repetitive consistency and routine as a team
Yeah.
in there and figure that out. So I'm really proud of that, because I've been working on that for 6 months. Been working with the team for 5 years or so, but we have now uh, got it into an organized fashion where we're working with a lot of these harder, slower moving through the process cats.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Because, sometimes you see those cats that are just hunkered down in the back of their cage looking at the wall because they're too
Yeah.
afraid. They're just totally shut down.
Yeah.
Some cats just do not thrive at all in a shelter situation, but you take them out of that
Oh yeah.
into a home or foster or whatever, and they thrive again. They're just so shut down emotionally and spiritually
Yeah.
in places like that. And we don't know, a lot of times what their background was, you know,
Mhm.
whether they were just abused or whether they were neglected, whether they dropped off and just, surrendered and lost the only family they ever knew. And that's heartbreaking.
Yeah. Every case we look at, we first thing we start with is, okay, what are the unknowns? Where did this cat come from? Were they
Mhm.
stray? Were they in a home? Because if they were in a home and now they're in a cage, we can be empathetic, right? Like a
Right.
hard time. If they're stray, semi-feral, under-socialized, and they're in a cage, it gives you a margin of if they're going to improve or not. But
Mm-hmm.
also, the big piece is understanding the snapshot of who this cat is in a traumatic situation.
Yeah.
And so many cats, they display fear as aggression, and they
Exactly.
die. They
Mm-hmm.
get killed because the shelter is like, we can't examine this cat, we can't reach in, and they don't always have the space, the foster home, the
Yeah.
places to pull them out of that locked in snapshot.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very
It's hard.
it's real. It's
Yeah.
real stuff. And this is where, when we were talking before we got on camera, about like experience, hands-on experience working with cats. That's how this is where I've started. I started working in the San Francisco SPCA and making those decisions for these cats where like you can forecast their future. If you've done it
Mhm.
enough times, you can know what the system is going to do to that cat.
Yeah.
So we have to figure out, collaboratively, how do we collect information? Because it's the information you're collecting that gets this cat like the progress, how we know they're making progress. So we have little sheets of information on every cat that I have trained my volunteers to write factually,
Mhm.
as if they're writing a diary of what they just did for 15 minutes, right? Like, I sat down, this cat walked to me, I put my hand out, he did this, he did that. How long did it take for him to take a nip at my hand or whatever it was?
Mhm.
And the next person works from there. So, like, we write a blueprint and we work from that blueprint. We don't say, I think this cat would do best in a home with, like, we don't, that's no, that's your opinion.
Right.
That's what you see. And then we work and we try to move them through the process. But San Francisco has a very, very low euthanasia rate. Um,
Thank goodness.
we have a good umbrella of rescue groups. Um, Animal Care and Control is, we'll call it the sister of San Francisco SPCA.
Mhm.
SPCA is a limited admission shelter, taking whatever they want, how many they want, however age they want, and keeping that eco balance. We don't have that luxury.
Yeah.
So we depend on those places to siphon some of the cats out so that
Mhm.
we can then dedicate time and space to the ones that need it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I totally got you off track, but so but that's fascinating. And that was all about the clicker training.
Yeah, yeah.
All the way-
In
that was
summary,
a very long
clicker
list.
training is great for shelter cats and house cats.
Yes, it absolutely is. So, what is the next top mistake that people make?
Um, we were talking about, especially for these cats, like these shy, really sensitive cats. There's always going to be one in the mix, and the older they get, usually, the less interested they are in the activities the younger cats are into. They tend to avoid. So when we look at territory, we look at rooms.
Mhm.
We're not again tributing who needs what and where. Um, some of our older cats and fearful cats need managed spaces. They need you to be their doorman
Yeah.
to and their escort from place to place. And that, I think, also plays into what we're talking about, where like having your own private time with your cat is important. So
Mhm.
those cats especially need to be singled out and need some cuddle time and
Mhm.
maybe some gentle churu or whatever, whatever you do that bonds you to your cat.
Yep.
Um, that's important. I think, you've got some cats that are going to be ground dweller hiders under the bed, in the closet, and then you're going to have the ones that climb up high. So if you're not tributing both with vertical territory and tunnels,
Oh yeah.
beds, um, there's a lot of good enrichment out there, and there's built-in things in your house that you can embellish on, or towel over the certain chair or whatever. There's things or pathways that you can build places the cats already have interested in going, but you're like, he keeps jumping up there. Every time he jumps up there, we take him down. I'm like, no, build a highway. Like, let him
Right.
go.
He
He
wants to
needs
be a pie.
yeah,
Yeah. My kittens discovered my closet. And the verticals, they made their own vertical space up to, climbing on the hangers and up to the top shelf, and they like to climb around the
yeah,
top shelf and look around. I'm like, well, you're gonna have to get yourself down, and they figure out how to do that too. So, but it's kind of fun for them. Um, my clothes are probably not super happy about them, climbing up, but whatever. It's just cats.
yeah. My cat spends most of the day in my closet in his little sleepy pod bed that
Yep.
originally I stuffed it in there because he wouldn't sleep in it. And I thought, you know what? Here, just like embedded in my clothes and my smells. Now he's in it.
All the
There's so
time.
much hair on it, you can't see the inside of the bed anymore. It's just, but it's done its job. If you ever have to travel in it, it's going to be a nice, safe space for him.
That's right, and it smells like him, and
Yeah.
it smells like you, so that's comfortable for him. Yep, one of my 8-year-old, who's like the middle child now with the kittens, she and I used to have this routine every day where we had our special cuddle time, and I got out of the routine for a while because of just life, right? And kittens. Just there's just so many distractions. And I did an animal communication session with one of my gals a couple weeks ago, and we were talking to Aylin, and somehow it came up like, what can we do to support you, in light of the kittens and everything. And she goes, I love it when mom treats me like a baby. And immediately in my head, I knew what she was talking about, because we used to have cuddle session every day, and I would turn her upside down in my arms like a baby, and I would hold her like that and scratch her, and she just purred and purred and purred and purred. I'm like, okay, I know what you mean. And so now we're back into our routine again. But that's her special bonding time. And it was so, I mean, we did that for years.
Yeah.
Um, so it's funny how things that we don't think are that important, necessarily, we don't place the importance on it sometimes, how important it is really for them.
Yeah. I mean, this cubby who's, I don't know if it was, maybe there he is.
There he is. Hi, buddy.
Oh, he's
And
like,
he's like,
oh, heard me. Um, he has routines with me, very intimate routines
yeah.
that no one else is privy to. When we're in my room and the lights are out, um, he's been with me since 2010, and it's taken
Mhm.
till just last year for him to finally realize, and I have showed him hundreds of times, he finally clicks that there's warmth underneath the blanket with me.
Yeah,
That you can get in this little space right here.
right here.
And so every night he's in and he does his little turn and his little turn, and I pull the covers so we're both laying like a spoon
Yes.
over both of our heads. Our heads are out.
Uh-huh.
The nicest little thing. But if my girlfriend comes over and she sleeps over, man, is he mad.
No,
And
of course.
doesn't have those, he can't be, doesn't want to be in the bed with us, doesn't want to,
No,
like,
no.
so he's like, sits on the little cardboard next to us.
Yep, staring like
So I know how precious those things are to him, and she does too. So she's like, "Oh, he's
Mhm.
mad at me because I'm here." I'm like, he'll get over it. Just give him some more chew and there's more food in his food puzzle." You know?
Yeah, my ex-husband years ago when we were together, like in the very beginning, one of my cats would drag his socks and put him in the litter box. I'm like, "I'm sorry, he's first
Yeah,
and you come second.
yeah,
The cat was first, he's just,
wear cheaper socks.
we just had a good laugh out of that, but they're very sensitive, they're very emotional.
Yeah,
Like, "You're ruining my bonding time.
yeah,
You're interrupting our routine." They're
yeah.
very routine oriented.
It's an uncanny how even with the time change, he's on the money with
Mhm.
certain times. But he's tracking me and my movements because I'm
Yes.
an introvert that never leaves the house. So he knows what I'm going to be doing at 2 o'clock, making my coffee. So he's going to come out and announce himself.
Uh-huh.
I have housemates, so he does his rounds.
Yeah.
I have other housemates that work from home, so he goes to their little office rooms and gets petted and whatever. There's
Mhm.
certain sun spots he knows they'll be in certain places.
Yeah.
Uh, And yeah, we're not doing as much clickering as we used to, but he still expects it.
Yes. Yes, it's true, it's true. Did we get all 5 points, or is there anything
I
more?
think so. Everything I wrote down on my board over here, I think we talked about. Yeah, managing territory, private cuddle times, up and down enrichment, mealtime strategies, play sessions, multiple
Mhm.
choices.
Yeah,
Um, I
yeah.
think the big ones.
Does anybody who's watching, do you guys have any questions for Daniel while we're here? Um, Simone says, "Clicker train the girlfriend."
Working on it.
Haha. Good luck. Good luck with that. Let me see if there is any other questions. Um, Simone said, "I wondered about the hooded boxes. Then other cats can get around them, which may not work." Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Especially if you've had bullying or, dominant cats who tend to try to push others around, that can be an issue. Let's see. Um, yeah, that's awesome. Um, yeah, if you guys have any other questions, definitely drop them in while DQ is here. Here's your opportunity to ask. So,
Yeah.
let
If,
us know.
I'll just plug myself. If any of you
Yeah.
out there want to do a one-on-one Zoom call with me, I can be. You can find me at gocatgosf.com, and you can book right there and schedule your appointment right there. Also, all social media platforms at gocatgosf.
I just dropped it in the comments for people to see.
Cool.
So you've got that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So what has been like, share a couple of your most interesting stories based on, like, success stories based on things we talked about tonight.
Um, the litter box stuff is big because I get so many of those calls, and so many of them are just like root canals trying to get through to these people. But the ones that do listen, the ones
Mhm,
that do experiment with litter, experiment with not just litter box related things, right? So we just had a really good breakthrough with one cat who urinates on couches, and he also sprays perimeter walls.
mhm,
So perimeter walls only under windows,
mhm.
heating vents. Imagine that, peas in your heating vent. So
That's
so that's this to me is a two. It goes two different ways. You have a cat who may be getting creative and not liking their litter boxes because the litter boxes provided weren't at all what I would choose.
exactly.
Thinking, okay, like okay, there's room for we can address the litter boxes, but also what's going on inside that wall?
Right.
Why is your cat not just this room, but the other room under all these windows? And what's their life? What's do they have a like? Are there cats outside? Are there raccoons? Is there
Mhm.
something that sets them off that makes them feel insecure? And you can address litter boxes, and you can also address what a piece of their territory represents to them. So, success that we had was in changing the impression of those spots to places that now bear fruit.
Mm.
So, under the window, we now have food puzzles and eating stations and litter boxes nearby with different varieties of litter. We also
Yep.
have like a licky mat on the couch. Like it's not ideal. I get it. You don't want to have food on your couch.
Right.
Your cat keeps peeing there. So what if they go up there every day and it's like different, or you're playing with them? It
Yeah.
involves you. It involves changing why they go to those places.
Mhm.
So really, really be aware of what's going on outside that back window because
Yep.
clients, although we had a success, were the type that would ask me for advice, then get the advice, and then shoot the advice down. So, I mean, I'm talking 20 different things. So I'm like, what do I have left? But for them, I'm like, okay, like we can't just change the litter and then say, okay, I tried that.
Right.
Change
Right.
the litter, wait it out, and do all these other things too. So like I always find like the successes come when people are finally like, you know what, like this isn't like this doesn't have to be solved in 10 days. Like, let's take the time and experiment.
Yeah.
That has been really good. I had also, trying to think, there's so many. That's what I mean. They're all such a blur. 'Cause I'm doing like 10 a week, new ones.
Do you want to take a question instead of trying to think of one? Okay, so Bagheera Argo says, how would you help an anxious cat who sprays after a kitten joined the clutter, even though the older kitty will rustle and groom the newest kitten?
Yeah.
Tried flower essences and plug-ins, and he was with us for 13 years with no spraying and 2 other cats until the new kitten was dumped. He was with us for 13 years and never sprayed until the kitten showed up. So there you go.
Okay. Cats don't have to be enemies to spray.
Hmm.
It's not an anger move. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's just a competition. It's a sign of your older cat knowing that the fluidity of the balance in the house has changed, and that a young newcomer is coming to the plate.
Mhm.
So the statement being made is, "I'm still here."
Yeah.
So where I wouldn't try to separate them, I would want them to have moments together. This is another instance of like finding like, where does he choose to pee? That
Mm.
tells you a lot. Where he sprays. Is it in a room where everyone's having fun? Is the kitten playing in that room? Is there a heightened energy that upsets this cat?
Mhm.
Is it a room devoid of resources? Like all the things we talked about earlier, the choices, the scratchable places. Where is he dumping his disdain? Where is he where's the cathartic release for property? Like,
Yep.
right? So lots of choices to scratch in those places. Again, the food is big. I don't know that I would bring them together for meals every day. That's not going to make him feel better about the situation. But um, that cat who is spraying knows that something is at stake. What is at stake is their either connection with the person who rules the gang or with the environment. So
Mm.
you've got to preserve both. And like I think flower essences are fine. They're not foolproof, but they help.
Mhm.
Fell away, all that stuff. Again, studies have been done mostly by Felloway, but they're not, it's not foolproof, but helps a little to have that stuff going. I would put, of course, with a kitten, you can't help but put your attention towards that kitten, and you have to. But
Yep.
that other cat needs addressing,
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
know. And if changing changes to the environment don't help, if adding cat furniture and giving enrichment and playtime and all these private things to that cat don't work, um, you've got to really consider how that cat's feel from the inside.
That's a great point. Yep. And maybe spend more one-on-one time with the older cat away from the kitten and, you know,
Kittens steal thunder.
they do. They demand it. They're so busy. Mine are so busy. It was crazy for a while.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, that was a great answer. Well, before we go, we're gonna do a fun little card pull for everybody. So I don't know if you guys were here last time he was on. He pulls. Tell us what deck you're using.
I'm gonna pull from called the Grimalkin's Curious Cats Tarot deck, and it's
Cool.
signed by the artist. But
Nice.
yeah, it's just a really cool sort of like traditional based deck that
Yeah.
has on it. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. So we're just gonna kind of look around. What does the universe want to share with all of our cat parents who are watching tonight, um, based on the information and the topics that we had? What does the universe want y'all to know? And Skylar's back. Hi, baby girl. What are you doing? You want to come and play? Oh, she thinks I have a toy. Hi. What are you doing? Hi.
All right.
Okay,
You pull one first.
go for it.
Eight of Cups.
Oh, what is that? Tell us. Eight of Cups?
I'm gonna have to consult my book on that one. See here.
Sweet
It's the moving on card. It's where you're moving on from a situation that I might have like a heart-based emotional
Yeah.
situation, moving on, seeing something better on the horizon.
Okay. So maybe getting out of our stuck position, moving on to higher. Now we've given you guys some tools to think about so you can move away from your stuck position or where you are now to something grander that's going to serve you, right?
That's right. Looking for more in life,
I love that.
acknowledging and understanding, but moving on. Looking
Love
forward.
it.
You'll see in this picture here, cat is looking ahead on the horizon.
Oh, that's awesome.
Also, I think this cat's supposed to be in a canoe or a boat. That's usually what the tradition.
Okay. Now the one that I'm using is called the Spirit Cats. They're inspirational cards. So let's see what. Shuffle this one. This one's called Threshold. It says, meet Sage. She's the queen of the threshold, in or out or in. She lingers right at the borderland between worlds. Glancing back, she takes stock of everything she's cherished, everything that has challenged and interested her, and everything that has weighed her down and limited her. She peeks her nose through the door, smells the fresh air of possibility with a swirl of exhilaration and a hint of fear. Perhaps she even tiptoes through a few times only to return to her old world for a while. Find peace at the threshold, but don't surrender to the turn back now gargoyles that guard the gateway. When you are ready, you will stride boldly into your new world.
Very complimentary
Yes.
cards.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. You can't be afraid to try new things, right? And get out of our stuck mindsets like you were saying, oh, I tried that. Well, how long did you try it? Was that the only thing you tried? You
Right.
know, it's like if you have a list of 10 things,
Yeah.
don't shoot them down. Try
Right.
them.
Did you
Give
hire
it time, right?
Are we debating or are we collaborating? Like what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, DQ, it's been so fun.
Yeah. It was a blast.
I love catching up with you. I appreciate you so much. And thank you for sharing your wisdom and your insight with our viewers. And don't forget, if you want to reach out to him, go to gocatgosf.com and book a session with him, and he can help resolve some issues that you might be having in your feline household. And until then, I just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving and a wonderful holiday season, and we will be back to see you guys in December. So thanks everyone, have a great night, and we will talk to you soon. Bye, you guys.